pleasure is preferable to pain, health is preferable to sickness, life is preferable to death. Just under those parameters, slavery is wrong. However, when you talk about the biblical slavery, if you want to go back through history, when American slavery was a thing, there were a large portion of Christians who were citing the Bible to justify enslaving people. So Christianity has actually brought us more subjectivity on this issue rather than my own subjective and secular moral framework.
Wait, I need to respond to this.
Woodland first.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'm legally required to just let everybody know that I am currently streaming, just because, so you know, it's
Legally? All right. Hey, that's fine.
Yeah. Anybody want to talk? I'm an evil heathen atheist.
Oh,
No.
well, that's fun.
No, then you should probably go.
No, we can talk to atheists on here. Say it. What are you talking about?
It doesn't seem like he wants to talk like that. He just wants to be an edgelord.
Theo, you made me laugh. Well, you can go.
Space.
Admittedly, I
Just
do have
no
my
hesitation.
I do have my fedora here, and I've been tipping it
Oh, wow.
a lot since joining this.
No, if he would have looked and said, "Hey, I'm a Satanist or I'm an atheist, and I absolutely don't believe, but I would like to learn something that you guys have, maybe that could kind of change my mind. I'm open for some new understanding." It's a different story, but I don't want to sit and play confrontation games.
Great against God.
We're only willing to engage with people who are willing to.
Well, I mean, it's usually like I'm not here to like be an edgelord. All kidding aside, I mean, I used to be a Christian. My whole life, actually, I was Christian. So usually it's just interesting for me to talk to people to hear what they believe and why they believe what they do. Primarily because I did used to be
my interest.
Okay.
That piqued my interest, dude.
Well, once a Christian, always a Christian.
Yeah, okay, so you used to be a Christian. Can you tell me, as an ex-Christian, what is the greatest commandment according to Jesus Christ? They asked him that question, if you recall.
Right. Wasn't it love the Lord your God with all your soul or under heart and soul? And then the second greatest was love your neighbor?
That's very true. Okay.
Yes,
So
I was close.
can you remind me what was the story of Jonah? You remember that?
Yeah, when he got swallowed by a big fish. Specifically not a whale.
Right.
It was a big fish.
And why did that happen?
Because he refused to follow God's orders to go to Nineveh.
Yeah, that's true. You do know all these things. Okay, so I guess you remember the story of Daniel?
Daniel and Goliath?
No,
No,
that's
that's
David.
Oh,
Daniel.
okay. Yes, that was my bad. Daniel, yes, when he was thrown to the lion's den.
Yes, yes, and he was taken into Babylon, into the captivity. Okay, well, so you actually grew up Christian. What drew you away? What made you stop being a Christian? I guess. What made you leave the faith?
I mean, I was a Christian. I didn't just grow up Christian. I was a Christian. That was like my one of the most important things to me when I was younger. What made me leave was mostly just experiencing. No, I don't want to say experiencing. I just heard a lot of convincing arguments against a lot of what I learned in Christianity. I mean, I don't know what kind of Christianity you believe in. I was raised non-denomination. So for me, I was taught that the Bible was literal and that everything in the Bible was like the word of God or from God. I know God didn't physically write the Bible. I know that God inspired those words through people. And so, yeah, usually that's what I was taught. But then upon doing some research, I realized that there were a lot of inaccuracies within the Bible that if I'm supposed to take it literally, that's kind of troublesome.
Interesting. So it's like inaccuracies and basically contradictions that kind of made you stop what you thought it didn't make sense. Basically, you found I guess you find it to be inconsistent.
Well, not even just inconsistent, but like the actual internal reasoning and belief within Christianity seems deeply flawed to me.
Really?
I bring up the fact
theologically wise, you mean, or what?
Yes, theologically.
Interesting. Okay, so which is your biggest issue, I guess, theologically?
I don't know what my biggest issue would be, but the first one that comes to my mind is that I guess I should ask you this. What is the requirement to go to heaven
I think it's by grace through faith. So you put your faith in Christ, and you
And
know
God gives you
you
the
just believe
grace.
on Him. He's gonna give you the Holy Spirit, and once you have the Holy Spirit, he'll work on your heart, and you'll want to serve Him because you love Him, and
Right.
somehow you're gonna produce fruit. But that's all like because God works in us.
I
Right.
think
May I
you
clear?
said it well,
May I
Rami.
clear
Well, hold
that
on,
up a
wait.
little more?
Before CEO, hold on 1 second, because I was
Yeah,
just.
yeah.
Let me just finish this conversation with Rami here. So,
Well, CO, I
can
think
you
CO
also
wanted to
answer
add
the
on
question as
to
to whether or not
Rami.
God is just? Is God the
Okay, so
ultimate form of justice?
that's good.
Yes,
Could I
God is
clear that
just.
first question up a little more, though? I'm not gonna detour. I just want to clear it up a little bit more.
Okay.
You said, what is it that gets you into heaven? Okay.
Mhm.
You said it 100% correct. It is faith. It is 100% faith. But once you come into faith and accept Christ into your heart, Christ is the power and wisdom of God. He changes your heart. He
Mhm.
communes with you.
Oops, sorry.
He is the link between you and God. So once you understand that Christ is the wisdom of God and dwelt within you, now your heart changes and you do that which is righteous unto God, and God is proud of you. God
Right.
can see you and look
The fruits of
upon
the
you, because
Spirit.
before, yeah, well, the fruits of the Spirit is different, because it's peace, love, kindness, patience. That's a little different, but ultimately that shows it's a byproduct that shows that the Holy Spirit is indwelt in you. So,
But
but
that's my
one thing I wanted to
problem.
mention.
That's specifically the problem that I have. Is that
Okay.
there is a God who, if you follow Christianity, you believe that God is the ultimate form of justice, or the ultimate, like, He is just. God cannot be not just. It would be a character contradiction. But if you are judging somebody as to whether or not they will spend eternity in hell or eternity in heaven on the basis of faith, then that's not justice. Because justice
I
is a
don't.
punishment or a reward according to the actions done. If God is simply going to judge you based on your belief, then in my opinion, that is woefully unjust. And then, of course, we go down the path of, I don't feel that God has adequately provided evidence of His existence, so I'm supposed to have what I would consider blind faith, or else I will go to hell. That to me sounds like it's unjust.
No, well, I think that's just to because you're acting, you're a poser. If you say, "Oh, I believe in God," and you truly don't, or you just have blind faith. Blind faith is basically not, claiming that you believe in God, but you haven't put the effort to get to know Him. You haven't
No,
spent
usually
time
blind
reading His
faith
Word
is
and
having
studying.
complete and total confidence or trust in someone, despite the fact that there's not enough evidence to support that claim. So I don't think that
but
there's
here's the
nearly
thing.
enough evidence to support the claim that there is a God, or that the Christian God is the right God, or that Jesus Christ was the Son of God. And there isn't good evidence of
I
that.
think
So
there's
you
plenty
have to
though.
have
Hold on,
blind faith.
I can present
But
to you some evidence. Maybe you find it satisfactory, maybe not. But we can go through the evidence. I do think there is, and a lot of evidence. And I want to specify one thing. Like, bro, uh, you mentioned like right before God is going to like work in your heart, and I guess he'll show you the personal evidence that you're asking for, but you do have to like ask him to show
I
you
did. That's
the
the
evidence.
thing too, is I've asked God not for evidence, but I have reached out to God repeatedly throughout my entire life because I was a Christian. I mean, I would call out to God. I would ask God for help with things. I would ask God for guidance. I wasn't treating God just like the magic genie that should just be there to give me what I want when I want it. My entire upbringing was dedicated to Christianity, going to church, reading my Bible, making sure that I had a deep understanding of the doctrine of Christianity. I feel as though I did everything that would be expected to seek out God, and yet God never really showed up. But for me, it's not so much like the personal experience of like, oh, I was sad and God didn't help kind of thing. For me, it's more that internally, the actual theological beliefs within Christianity
Oh yeah, the
are
justice.
contradictory.
Wait, I wanted to mention that. Hold on, I did want to comment on the whole justice aspect. Well, give me a sec. I'm doing something, but I'll talk to you about the justice aspect in a second. Okay.
Because you said you had evidence, right? You said you had evidence.
Yeah, I'll show you some of that too. Give me a few.
Okay, well, CO, did you want to keep talking then? I've been left alone.
No, you're not left alone. I'm actually working right now, and I have my phone on, so I've been
That's
listening
fine.
to you guys while I'm working. So, but that's one of the reasons why I stopped to talk to you, and then I just put you guys on mute. But I kind of been listening. I just haven't been fully following, so I don't know where we would continue off of.
Okay, yeah,
So,
sure.
But just go ahead and finish up with Rami, and I should be wrapped up here with what I'm doing about a half hour. And hopefully, if you're still in the room by that time, we can continue on.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm basically you're right. The justice of God. I remembered. I had forgotten. Now I remember. Okay. So why is it just? Okay. Because listen, God is perfectly just. Let me try to clarify all of this for you. Maybe it'll make more sense. Okay. God is just. Yes. But God has other attributes than absolutely just. Okay. He's merciful. He's loving.
Okay.
Okay. And these attributes don't cancel each other out. Give me a sec.
Okay.
Like, uh, and basically, I'll try to explain it to you clearly. Like we all break God's law, and God, being perfectly just, would basically need to send us to hell for that breaking of His law.
See, I disagree with that. Like, why? First of all, God set up the rules. So God created the law. God decided to make the law a standard which he already knew we would not be able to achieve. So then God is then saying, well, if you don't meet this standard, you are worthy of hell. Okay, that makes it so that every human being who's ever existed is now worthy of hell. And now God has sent his son to die on the cross. And if you don't believe in the fact that his son died on the cross for our sins and that Jesus Christ is Lord, and believe in your heart that God rose him from the dead, then you will go to hell. However, why did God choose to send his son and do arguably the most important thing for all of human existence during a time which there were no ways to capture video or even have records that this occurred? We don't have medical records that a man named Jesus died and then was confirmed alive again. Why would God do that during a time in which it was incredibly hard to collect this data?
So you're mad at God for doing it this way. That's what I'm getting from you, right? And I kind of get that. Like, I actually have a really good friend
I'm not
feels
mad
the
at God.
same
I
way
just
as
think that
you,
it's pretty
and that has
ridiculous.
no, listen. God is doing this on purpose. He's giving people enough rope to hang themselves. Like, you don't have to believe. You don't have to follow. You don't have to, right? You see what I mean? You have,
No, if I
like, he's
don't, I go
giving
to
you half the
hell.
rope. You see what I mean?
If I don't, I go to hell. This is like somebody holding a gun to my head and saying, go and steal the Snickers bar. But don't worry, you don't have to. But if you don't, I'm going to pull the trigger. Like, you don't have a choice then, really.
Okay, I got to speak up. Hello?
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Okay, so the logic that you're using is very warped, and I don't say that to like offend you or get you angry. But
Don't worry,
here's
I'm
the
not going to
thing.
be offended.
God's not telling you to go steal a Snickers bar. What he's telling you is don't kill your brother. Don't screw with your brother's wife, or if you're a female, don't screw with your sister's husband.
Do you think that there's any other things that God
please
has...
let me finish. I was respectful, and I only have a brief amount of time to talk. Please. He's telling you don't lie to your brother. Don't lie about your brother. He's telling you be honest and forthright. And if you do these things, then that shows that you are obedient. And I don't know if you're a parent or not, but I am. And one thing that I expect from my children is obedience. And if my children doesn't obey me, then what ends up happening is it's not rules that I set forth for them. It is laws of the universe. Like I tell my kids, don't overeat. Why? Because it makes them fat and sick and unhealthy. Stay away from drugs. Why? Because it shortens your life. Stay away from alcohol. Why? It destroys your life. Okay, there's certain things that I tell my children, and if they disobey me, what happens? They fall into a fallen state. Okay, well, now we're playing on a much higher level. I am just a man with children. We're talking about the creator of all the universe. And he's just given us simple rules to treat each other with love, kindness, and obey these simple rules. And if we don't obey them, then we are in complete opposition to him. And I gotta say, if he's the guy that made all this universe, and he sets just simple rules like, honor your parents.
Sorry.
That's a simple rule. How hard is it to honor your mother and father? It's not that hard.
Well,
okay. So
this didn't come from God, though. So, like, everything you just said, like, love your brother, don't sleep around with...
anymore.
Don't
This
sleep...
is where we disconnect.
Why? Wait,
Because
before
you believe
Christianity
it
was...
doesn't come from God, and I believe
Before
that
Christianity
it's
was
in the hearts of every
established,
man.
Wait, before Christianity was established, before the Bible was even like a completed book or collection of books,
Okay.
I should say, to be
So
more accurate,
before you go
then
down that road,
how is it...
before you go down that
Wait,
road,
no, I have a question. Then how
do
was
you
it
know it's in-
known
do
that
you know in your
murder
heart
was
that it's
wrong?
wrong to kill somebody? Do you
What?
know that it's in your heart that it's wrong to kill somebody?
Yes, but they're evolutionary explanations.
Oh, so it's evolution. Okay. So evolution tells you don't kill somebody.
No, not necessarily, but evolution, considering the fact that we've evolved as a social species, and if killing people who, like, within the quote-unquote pack would reduce our overall lifespan, then yes, it makes perfect sense evolutionarily
so what about
as to
ifs and
why we
monkeys?
would view murder as being a bad thing. Not to mention,
Okay, so
even
what
if...
about-
Well, hold on, one
what
more
about-
thing.
hold on.
Hold
What
on,
about
I
ifs
let
and
you
monkeys?
talk. Even if there was no evolutionary explanation, that still wouldn't matter, because I can reason as to why murder is wrong without invoking God at all. I don't need God to tell me it's bad.
Reason it.
Yes,
reason
I
it.
don't want to be murdered. I don't want to live in a society in which murder is acceptable. So we ought to reduce human murder as much as
But
possible.
what if he wills
Why? I
to
mean, if
do
somebody
that?
steals from you, don't you want to kill them? I mean, if they stole
No.
your house from underneath you.
No, because
wait a
if...
second.
Wait, living in a
on,
society in
let's
which
be
it's okay to
honest.
kill somebody simply because they
Let's
stole
be
something from
honest.
you? No, that's not
No, let's
okay.
be honest. No, we're not just saying something. I'm talking about you're living in your house right now, and somebody comes in and takes everything that you've worked all your life from you, takes your house, your cars, all your money, steals everything off of you, and leaves you in the street. You wouldn't want to kill that person?
No. I mean, I would want to call the police on
You're a
that
liar.
person.
You're a liar.
I would
You're a
want
liar.
to... Wait.
You're
I would
a
want to
liar.
call the police on them and have justice
liar.
be served. But
I had-
no,
I had
it would be
somebody steal-
acceptable.
I had
It would
I
be
had somebody
acceptable to
embezzle
kill somebody
75
intruding into your
excuse me.
home.
I had somebody embezzle $75,000 off me, and I tell you what,
Uh-huh. Yeah? Did you cut out or did I?
No, you're still there, and I don't think that's the best argument, Theo. I don't like appealing to some. Like, I understand what you're trying to say is, like, the example with someone trying to steal isn't the best example, but the idea that you're trying to like communicate is that your morality is basically from God somehow. Like, the idea that you have a morality comes from God. I think that's the overall point that he's trying to get at. And giving you this example isn't the best example, but the fact is, you still rely on God for your morality, right?
No, because there are plenty of places throughout the world where they have no understanding of the Christian God and yet can still realize that murder is wrong. Furthermore, there have been plenty of examples of people who do believe in God committing heinous acts. All of our morality does not come from God or the Bible. In fact, for you to even determine that God is in fact moral or is in fact good, you first need to have some kind of a standard of what is moral and what is good outside of God. Otherwise, you're comparing God to God, which in that case, anybody would look good compared to their own standards. So, no, I'm able to very simply witness that...
Let me respond. You made 3 points. The first point was about other countries and other places. We believe that everyone is made in God's image. So everyone has this written on their heart. That was like Theo's point. The second point you made was about, I think it was basically God. I don't even remember. It was like God.
It was, let's see. We don't need God to understand that murder is wrong. Not at all.
Right. But that, I mean, the idea is that like your understanding of what is right and from wrong comes from originally God who made you to his image. And if that is not the case, then it's just like you're saying you'd say it's evolutionary, right? But even then, if you look at matter, by itself,
Mm-hmm.
like morality isn't an emerging property of matter. Like matter doesn't have morality, right?
You're right.
We do, right? And we're conscious, and like matter doesn't seem to produce consciousness, right? And so you're still having to like infer some like somehow that this dead matter has a standard of morality.
No, no, no.
Like
no,
you
no,
see
no.
what I
Sorry.
mean?
Let me re-explain, because I'm not saying any matter has a standard of morality. What I'm saying is that the way in which we have evolved as social creatures to recognize that if we are killing members of, I guess, quote unquote, the pack or the whatever, then you are going to have a worse off society, and humans will not thrive. This is why even in nature, you can see that generally speaking, animals, well, I don't want to say they're not killing each other, because animals kill each other all the time, but there is a general understanding that murdering each other is wrong, because that makes all of society a worse place for humans. And the thing is that you're saying, well, God has instilled this into our hearts. Well, you're at the same place that I am. You acknowledge then that most people have a general understanding that inflicting harm upon another person is wrong. I have an actual explanation that can be understood via evolution, where I feel like you're kind of just inferring, well, it must be God.
Okay, so what about lions? How they kill off their young if they're not theirs?
Yes,
I
already said that I wasn't going to say animals don't kill each other, because animals do kill each other.
What about chimpanzees that go in and fight each other and kill each other and eat each other?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I mean, we can go through all. There's fish that eats their own offspring, they cannibalize themselves. I mean,
I know. Yes, there's plenty of brutality in nature, of course. However, when we're talking about evolution, survival is one of the top.
Human beings have logic and reason. Human beings have logic and reason, which is a gift from God. We are different. We are set apart. We are not just animals. We are the image of God.
This is what I don't understand. Well, hold on, wait, no, because CEO just said something and he's wrong. Because when you say like we are made in the image of God, this is the problem though. Is when you say like we're made in the image of God, this is contradictory to what we know about evolution. I don't know if you're familiar with the thing called chromosome 2, but it's nearly definitive evidence that we in fact did evolve from primates. You can look at how there are 2 separate chromosomes in our closest primate. However, in humans, those 2 separate chromosomes are fused together as one chromosome. It's one of the most revolutionary scientific findings, which almost definitively prove evolution. So I don't know how I was created in God's image and how God set us here in this world, and God apparently gave us a brain, yet every time we go and experiment with science, it leads us away from God, not closer.
Are you here to push atheism?
Stop.
Rami, I'm asking a question. Is he here to push atheism?
No, bro, stop. You're not gonna bulldozer the conversation, bro. I'm talking with him.
Because this is the situation that constantly occurs.
Okay, well,
the situation that constantly occurs is people come on who are no longer Christian and give you arguments you can't respond to, so you get mad.
Evidence against your claims that this specific the claim that you made about the DNA being like spliced together. There's actually other explanations than the one you're
What's
claiming.
The other explanation?
I have a friend who's on the server that has that can explain it to you like in details, and that actually has papers on this. I'll have to look it up. I don't have it on hand. It's like basically the idea that the splice that happened could happen for basically different reasons, not just the fact that we came from apes. That like there's other animals that have this, and it's not like definitive proof or anything, and you're just like inferring that.
No, I'm not. I'm reading from right here from the National Library of Medicine, where it says human chromosome 2 was formed by the head-to-head fusion of 2 ancestral chromosomes that remained separate in other primates.
Yeah, but it's not demonstrating anything. You're just how
is this
making
not
the claim that because listen, the code itself can be used for different like applications. For us, it's a code. It's not because it is similar that necessarily it has to be the same. Like the code is the same for all animals. We share 52% our DNA with bananas.
Okay.
What? Keep going. I just got here.
I
You get it?
genuinely
The
don't
code is the
understand
same.
how this disproves
we
anything.
we share our DNA with bananas. Doesn't mean we're bananas, right? We're
Yeah, it's not
52%
about
banana.
sharing
That doesn't
DNA.
make
It's the
us
fact.
banana.
No. It's not just that we share DNA. It's that the chromosomes in primates are separate. Those same chromosomes exist in humans. However, the chromosomes are fused together. I don't know how else they would be able to fuse together without there being an evolutionary process.
Yeah, but that doesn't make sense. Jesus doesn't say we evolved.
Wait, so you're saying it's wrong because the Bible doesn't say so?
Hold
If
on.
Jesus
Uh,
didn't,
that-
You're
if
arguing
Jesus
with
didn't
the
say
guy
it, then
who
he ain't
knows.
real.
Real cat, stop. Let Caleb respond. I'll
That's
let Caleb
really,
take
really
my turn,
dumb.
but
Yeah.
it's just, I'll
Hunter,
get
you're
you-
you're
I'll
talking
get
to
you
a
the
guy
bit-
who's been
the-
in the channel for less than 5 seconds. That's who you're responding to.
Okay.
Are you really that who said that response to you right now? Just so that I know that you're paying attention.
Wasn't it Real Cat? Also, why do you feel the
No,
need to
no, it
quiz
wasn't.
me?
No. Because you should know who you're speaking to right now. Right?
There's like 10
If you're
people in
going-
here. I'm talking to people as they posit arguments.
Cat
And
likes
their-
pet sounds.
and their mics light up. Okay.
Yes, because I'm not staring at the Discord. I'm live streaming, which I've already disclosed, and I'm
I don't
looking at
care if
the
you're live-
research
I
in
don't care if
regards
you're
to
live streaming.
chromosome 2.
Speak.
No,
Yeah.
let Caleb keep going with
I
him. It's
heard
Caleb
it
and this
back
guy
in
right now.
Utah.
I'm giving
I
him
heard
my
a gay
turn.
person.
So
Yeah, I'm hearing a lot of Christ love right now. Let's go easy with the slurs, buddy.
I'm just saying.
I have a perfect meme for that where people who look you know who John Oliver is? I have a meme of John Oliver where it
Yeah.
says that's not very Christian of you, and you literally look like John Oliver's like default clone.
I do?
Yeah, you do.
How do you know what I look like? That's
Let's
kind of
keep
creepy.
going
You
with the
told
argument,
me
dude.
that you
I know.
advertised your 54 viewer stream to me.
Actually, I have well over 200 viewers. I'm not just streaming on Twitch.
It's
but
it's 54.
Those are the Twitch stream numbers. That's not everybody that's watching me right now. But anyway,
Yeah.
why don't we
there's a
just
guy
get
in
back
the
to what
corner.
actually matters and not talk about how many viewers I have? So, yeah, Rami,
So-
do you
so
want to
what do
pick
you-
back
what
up
do
where
you-
we were?
No, hold on. Rami said you can talk to me.
Okay.
So are you in here to
He's
learn?
Huh?
Are you in here to learn?
Well, I'm in here to ask questions. Sure.
Okay. What questions do you have?
Well, I'm wondering why you guys are Christians, really, because I was raised Christian my whole life. I was a Christian my whole life, and now I'm not. And so a lot of the times these conversations can be really just interesting for me. Yeah.
Okay. What denomination were you recently?
American?
I was
No,
non-denominational, and I was.
You're
and,
raised
I,
non-denominational.
and he
American,
he
that's
did
why.
know about the scriptures.
Protestant
Like
American.
he did know about like some scriptures. So
Yeah.
like that's
okay.
he's not ignorant. He doesn't. It's not like he doesn't know.
I was raised Christian. I took this shit super seriously. It wasn't like it was just a joke to me, or that it was just like, well, my mommy and daddy told me this.
Do
Do you know?
We
do you know
did
what the
kind of-
Apostles' Creed is?
We did. I do not know off the top of my head what the Apostles' Creed is. No. However, I will say that I feel
Give
like
me
this
a brief summary.
I feel like this conversation is derailed a little bit because the whole point or the original conversation that me and Rami here were having was whether or not God can be considered just if God is judging people as to send them to heaven or hell based on nothing but belief. That is not a fair criteria of judgment.
Hold on a second. I'm gonna record as well, right? Since you put everyone on the spot with your little stream, I'm gonna also record. Okay.
Wait, Fumanchu, could I speak to Hunter for a second? I just
Yeah. Go.
Hunter, I just remembered.
Please don't derail. Right now, it's Fu Manchu and Hunter. So let them talk.
Okay.
I gave my turn up, so like you get.
Okay. So Hunter, like you said, you're a super Christian, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, what would entail from someone being a regular Christian? What would it then entail for someone to be a super Christian? What does that mean?
Honestly, it's funny that you ask me, am I here to learn when you're asking some of the most obviously bad faith questions? I said I was super Christian, as in I was very deep into Christianity. I did not say that I was a super Christian. So no, I don't know what the difference between a regular Christian and a super Christian is.
Yeah, dude.
No, what does that entail?
You're like coping right now. This is actually embarrassing.
It's not coping. It's me asking you, like, were you like deep in theology? Like, were you super passionate? That's what it means.
Yes, I was super passionate. I wasn't super deep into theology. However, I do still have a decent understanding of the general premises of Christianity. But yeah, no, I know for a fact there are plenty of people that are much better versed in theology than I am. But I don't think you need to be an expert to still see the contradictions and the flaws within that theology.
Well, I would disagree, right? Like, for instance, have you ever read anything of like Saint Augustine or Thomas Aquinas?
I'm very familiar with Thomas Aquinas, yeah.
Okay, so knowing the objections and the questions that he deals with, being probably one of the best philosophers in Western civilization, you still like find fault. Like, what was the exact reason why you left Christianity?
There was not like one reason why I left Christianity. It was more of just a consistent buildup of problems. So there was the issue with God judging people based on belief, which is unjust. There's the issue with what the Bible actually describes or what it depicts God as being, or depicting God's behavior that is abhorrent, in my opinion, whether it's God being okay with slavery, or God killing children, or God commanding his people to kill children, or God stripping Pharaoh of his free will. I mean, there are issues upon issues with the depictions of God in the Bible. And so when I'm told that this God is the arbiter of morality, but yet this God is apparently chill with slavery, then yeah, I have a bit of a problem with that.
Are morals subjective?
Are morals subjective? Yes.
Okay, why do I care?
Why do you care about what?
You just give me a critique of a ultimate, all-powerful, all-knowing God, and your critique is from a limited time-bound creature whose morals could change in the next 3 to 5 days, if not sooner than that.
So when you say that there's an all-knowing moral God and I'm taking issue with that, well, hold on. You're done for a minute because I need to respond now. So when you say that,
guys, let's take turns. Let's take turns.
I'll let you speak.
I've been waiting.
So, for instance, you just give a massive critique of the Christian God, and then said, "Yeah, morals are subjective. Like, how I feel is different from another person's feel."
Yes, that's how it is right now with every human being. Even you and me have probably have different views of morality.
You have no valid reason then.
Wait, no valid reason to critique God? You realize that if God is actually the arbiter of morality, and because he's omniscient and knows all, that us tiny moral humans can't even comprehend God's entirety as far as his morality, then following God would be useless. Why would I follow a being in which I can't even understand what that being is doing, is how it's moral or not moral? And are you going to tell me that you think slavery is moral? No, of course not. Slavery is immoral, yet God was okay with that immoral behavior.
Well, first of all, you answered. Callan, do you mind? Callan, do you mind if I jump in?
Yeah, go ahead, Classical.
Well, first of all, you just answered my question for me on whether slavery is immoral or moral. But the point that I was going to make is that,
what was the question I answered?
You said, okay, I'm going to go back to the point, but what you were saying about why you left Christianity was because of some moral issue and why you thought the decisions that God made were unjust or immoral.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't understand how that follows with you being a real Christian, because if you were a Christian, you accept God's omnipotence, and by you judging God for the moral actions that he took, you are judging him based on a moral system that is separate from the Bible.
So are you.
How did you
determine that God is good?
We trust him. We have faith.
Yeah, it is.
How do you determine that God is good? Did you really compare God to God? You already had some kind of an understanding of what it means to be good.
Can I just say something?
Yeah, go ahead.
God is good. We know God is good because the Bible says so, okay? And the Bible is God's word to us. He sent down his message to people.
And that's the problem. We shouldn't have to read the Bible. No, it's not. God is good because God's book says so. By that logic, I should be able to send you science.com where it says science is never wrong, and then you can't ever tell me that science is wrong.
Well,
this is
you know
ridiculous and circular logic.
The Bible beats science. No, the Bible beats science, and he said it down.
The Bible does not beat science. Science has pointed us away from God every single fucking time. This is why for a long time, religious people, really, then how come we used to believe that lightning was from Zeus and gods, and now we have a scientific explanation, and now we know that it actually was nothing supernatural?
Because the Greek people were stupid, okay? Their religion sucked.
No, stop.
Christianity is the real shit.
Yep. All the other religions are fake except mine.
I think Seven's trolling, honestly.
Yeah, 7 is trolling. So why did you bring up thinking that lightning was from Thor? Do you think you're speaking from like a Norse pagan? What relevance? Do you think Christians believe that?
No, I'm giving an example as to why how us as humans have historically and almost always used God or the supernatural as an explainer for things we don't understand. But then when we get an understanding, it cuts God out of the equation. So when we at one point believe that
it doesn't.
I'm explaining why I'm explaining my point.
Okay,
though.
but you're going on to you stated the point. What I'm saying is that's wrong. So I'm gonna interject and say
I was wrong about what I said about Zeus.
No, you were wrong that what you said is that a scientific explanation for something that we were wrong about does not cut God out of the equation. For example, the same way is that a scientific explanation about something scientific, if there's a new discovery and the previous one was wrong, like the theory of gravity from Einstein versus Isaac Newton, it doesn't cut Newton out of the equation. It doesn't we don't ostracize him from the science community.
No, not ostracize.
Say, okay,
but science corrects science. But science corrects science. Whereas for religion, if you have a claim or a theory or an assertion that this is from God, and then we have a natural explanation, you can find other ways to still make God fit into that equation. But the fact of the matter is, the original claim that this is from God is proven wrong upon the scientific discovery. That's all I was getting at with the Zeus thing.
The point that I'm trying to
that doesn't follow though.
Yeah, the point that I was trying to make is that if there's a scientific explanation for something that was previously not scientifically defined, and maybe it was attributed to God, then if science quote unquote corrects that, this doesn't separate from God. I think it's fair to say that most Christians would say, oh, well, great. Now we have a better understanding of God's great creation.
Right. And that's the problem too, is everything is God. You realize that everything is God. So if everything is God, then nothing is God. There's no way to determine what is actually from God, what is God, and what isn't. Because everything is now from God.
God exists in everything. Okay, there's an aura around.
Okay, I'm muting 7.
Yeah, that's fine.
No, Hunter, though. That's not what he said, though. Here he said that everything is essentially determined or caused by God. That doesn't mean that everything is God. That's a mistake that you're making.
You're saying God is a part of every process, right?
There not being God.
Aren't you saying God is part of every process? This is like saying, look at
what do you mean part of?
I'll give you an example.
Sense.
Look at the intricacies of individual snowflakes and how they're arguably all different from each other. That's really impressive. We have a natural explanation as to why that is occurring. We know what's going on in the clouds to cultivate these snowflakes. But the Christian would come along and Christian would come along and say, yes, and God created the clouds. So God is actually ultimately responsible for that process.
It's a theory of causation.
No, that was always the claim that God is the initiator and creator of the universe. So everything that does happen, you could always attribute it to God, like God is the initial cause.
Right, which is I see what you mean, but you don't understand how that's a huge problem, because if everything can just be attributed to God, then how are you distinguishing what is from God and what isn't?
But there's nothing that isn't from God.
We say that there's nothing.
Okay.
We have products, Hunter. We have products and we have byproducts. Okay. So for a big theological discussion is the discussion of evil. Evil is a byproduct from the product of God and God's love and God's good. So that we have products and we have byproducts. So it's not to say that no one's going to say that, oh, there's something that's separated from God's creation. There's nothing that's separated, but we have products and we have byproducts. Okay. There's something that he doesn't directly create that is a result of his creation.
And he reveals his will so you can differentiate what is from him and what is not.
There is a theologian, I don't know his name off the top of my head at the minute, who said, "Blessed is the man who understands why yet the sun rises and why the sun sets." And he goes on in this poem talking about how he, although does not know why the sun rises and why the sun sets, but he blesses God and thanks for that, and he understands his own limited knowledge and how he does not know why.
So he didn't understand something and attributed it to God. This is the thing I was just taking issue with. But honestly, this is almost just derailing again, because we were in the middle of the conversation about morality. And I have yet to hear a single explanation from really any Christian, despite the countless conversations I've had with Christians, as to how God can be the foundation of morality and then also be okay with slavery. I don't understand how that is possible.
I don't know why you have a problem.
Well, what's the contradiction?
God was not okay.
You don't know why I would have a problem with slavery? Is that what you just said?
Okay with a lot of things, dude.
So okay, without making it emotional.
Wait, we're talking. Wait, hold on, one at a time. Wait, stop. One at a time.
Why do you have a problem with slavery when modern day slavery is still a thing? In fact, you're probably a proponent of modern day slavery.
Shut up, please.
What's modern day slavery?
Modern day slavery is sweatshops.
No, you're bitching over slavery. God has allowed a lot more than just slavery. Come on now.
So because bad things are still happening, it was okay for God to be okay with a bad thing? What?
No, it's the fact that like
no, this is fallacious. Wait, Callum, this is a fallacious argument that Hunter's presenting, because what he's saying is that we need to prove our moral. Hold on, we need to prove our moral standard with his moral standard. This is fallacious.
Wait, hold on. I'm not saying that. Wait, no, stop. I was just accused of engaging in a fallacy. That is not what I'm saying. I'm not saying you need to make your morals fit my morals. I am asking you, is slavery immoral? And if so, how then are you saying God is moral if he was okay with an immoral thing?
Okay, the foundational
God was not
premise.
okay with slavery.
Paul, that's not true. That's not true.
Okay, then why did God say it was okay for them to have slaves?
It is not true.
It is 100% true.
Wait, it's not true that God was okay with slavery?
There is slavery in the Old Testament. It was in the Old Testament. It was in the Old Testament. I'm going to explain it. The foundational premise of slavery is not an immoral action according to God, but there is parameters around slavery where you can cross into immorality. For example, when in the Old Testament, it says that when you have a slave, you must treat him as one of your own in your household, and you must not, beat him.
That's not what it says. In Exodus, it directly says that if you beat the slave and the slave recovers after a day or two, then you shouldn't be punished because the slave is your property.
Why should I care about that?
Okay, maybe fair. For the sake of the fair, maybe I was wrong about that specific parameter. But
no, you were right. It's in the New Testament what you're talking about.
Me or him?
But the overall point. Let me get the overall point that the foundation of slavery or having a slave is not immoral, but there are parameters around that slavery that cross you into immorality.
So there's not the actual foundational principle of owning another human being as property is not actually immoral?
Prison systems are not immoral.
Classical Catholic.
Wait, you don't own those people as property in prison systems. They're sentenced there according to the crime they committed.
Excuses, dude.
We have
I know, he is making...
No, but here's
Listen to how everybody's diverting every single fucking time.
Guys, please be quiet.
$2 an hour.
Every time, every single time I say this,
We're not all gonna talk over each other.
Every time.
It's not gonna happen.
The question that can never be answered.
Catholic and Hunter.
The question I can never ask. I can never get an answer.
Who's this guy talking? Hold on. Classical Catholic. Classical. Please show me where in the Bible that does it say or reveal that God saying it's okay to be. God saying slavery is okay is one of his characteristics.
Well, yeah, like God did ordain like slavery, like for instance.
God did not say slavery is okay. Show me that in the Bible.
All over the Old Testament.
Why did St. Paul say like that the master and the slave has one master, Jesus Christ?
Guys, this is a.
Can I please read this really quickly? So the beginning of this verse says, God said to Moses, and these are the commands that God gave for the Israelites at the time. Quote, your male and female slaves are to come from the nations around you. From them you may buy slaves. You may also buy some of the temporary residents living among you and members of their clans. You can bequeath them to your children as inherited property and can make them slaves for life.
Yeah, we know this. I conceded this, Hunter.
Fu Manchu, you're not helping your cause when you say who cares if we own humans as property.
Hunter, you began this conversation by saying that your morality is subjective.
Right?
Your morality is subjective.
They went to war with
Why
these
should
people.
I
You're
care?
right. You know what? Never mind.
Why
It's totally
should I
okay
care?
then.
No.
You
So
have to
wait,
just-
Wait, what do you mean? Why should you care? You can have subjective morals and still recognize that slavery is wrong because it hurts other human being and it compromises human
Nobody can
well-being.
hear you, bro. Stop.
Hunter, I
We're
have a
not gonna
question.
scream over each other, guys.
Hunter.
We're not like that. We're taking turns.
Hunter,
Hunter,
that
I
is
have a
your
question.
own opinion, right? I don't care about your own subjective opinion.
What's your
right?
opinion then? Do you think it's okay?
Why-
Do you think slavery is okay?
Yeah,
Could I
I think so.
say-
I
could
can
I-
think whatever I want, right?
So-
In
Hunter,
your own view.
Hunter,
You guys
I
have
have
been
a
going on
question.
for a while.
You guys
Could I
are
say
so
something?
desperate to
Can we
make
mute
this.
Okay.
Hunter,
Everybody, one
Can I
second.
please just
I have a
respond,
question.
Let's
please?
let-
Can I
no,
just
no,
have like
let's
4
let
seconds
Hunter
here?
respond, then go to Woodland
Hunter, I have a
Princess, and then
question.
go back to Catholic, because that's the way it was supposed to be. Now go.
Okay, so first and
Wait,
foremost,
wait.
everybody
I wanna
has
hear
their
the
own
views
views
of
of.
the author.
So first and foremost, everybody has their own views of morality. So that's the first thing. Second of all, just if I believe morality to be subjective does not mean that I'm okay with people partaking in or supporting things that are immoral just because it's subjective. It is wrong to own another human being as property. I know this because I don't want to be owned as property, and it makes all of society a worse place to live. If I am purely interested in my own well-being, if I'm a selfish prick only who cares about my own well-being, then I can still recognize that pleasure is preferable to pain, health is preferable to sickness, life is preferable to death. Just under those parameters, slavery is wrong. However, when you talk about the biblical slavery, if you want to go back through history, when American slavery was a thing, there were a large portion of Christians who were citing the Bible to justify enslaving people. So Christianity has actually brought us more subjectivity on this issue rather than my own subjective and secular moral framework.
Wait, I want to.
Okay,
I need to respond to
Okay,
this.
so-
Hunter, I have a
It's
I thought
question.
I was
Woodland
next.
first,
Am I not next?
and then Catholic, and then Fu Man.
Why are you talking
Hunter,
to
I
him?
have a
Like, I
question.
was originally talking to him.
No, it was Catholic actually.
No, it wasn't.
Just
All
like
right,
Hunter,
so
I
I
have a
just wanted
question.
to. Are we good? All right,
Yeah,
I
you
just
can
wanted
say
to
what you
make the
say.
point. I just wanted to make the point that in the Old Testament, the majority of these slaves were brought on from war. Okay, you can't just let people who have been basically displaced because their cities have been sacked and burned down and just wander around starving. We couldn't exactly build prisons for them. But even today, slavery is an institution that people have to deal with. Like that doesn't mean that it's a good, like a morally good thing. I don't think there's even one person in this call who thinks slavery is morally good. Even God didn't think slavery was morally
Bruh.
good. In the New Testament, he talks about how there is no bondman, no freeman, no woman, no man. There's those that worship Christ and those that don't. And even in the Old Testament, like slavery was just something people had to deal with. I mean, what are you going to build a bunch of prisons to house all of the people that you've just conquered, or are you going to enslave them? It's an institution that is as old as humanity itself for a reason. You know,
Right. So it
want
just if they were
revenge.
just if
People, I'm almost done. Calm down.
oh, I'm totally
want
calm. It's just
revenge,
you've said a lot of stupid shit very quickly.
Stop speaking
I-
over her and don't be disrespectful.
Holy shit! I have one sentence left, Hunter. Calm the fuck down. Look, you keep. Fuck it. I give up.
Okay, so I recognize that people are saying I shouldn't be disrespectful. What I find to be more disrespectful is offering justifications for slavery. So
not
saying that,
offering
yes, you are.
emotions.
You
Stop
literally,
offering emotions.
wait,
No
you
one's
just
trying to
did.
justify it.
You
We're
just did.
explaining why it exists.
No,
Stop
you're not
appealing
explaining
to
why it
others.
exists. You just made a justification by saying they were
I'm
from.
not justifying
Can I
it.
explain
I am
why?
explaining why it exists.
So
Okay?
why
I
did we
don't
have to
justify
enslave them if we had gone to war with them? Why did we have to enslave them? Why couldn't we have just, I don't know, let them go on their way? Why did we need to keep them as property?
Do you know how many wars where they let people go on their way and they became bandits, came back and sacked the area? I mean, that's just dumb.
So there was a reason. Wait. So now you're saying there was a reason
I
for
said that
why they were
earlier,
had to
that
be
there was a
enslaved
reason
specifically,
why they
correct?
enslaved them.
Okay, I'm just
Yes.
wondering if how in
I'm
any
wondering
sense
why
of the
you're
word.
being such a passive aggressive dickhead.
Okay,
Well,
guys.
I can literally hear the sanctification occurring in this woman's life. It's incredible.
No, we're not.
Hunter.
We're not gonna
I mean,
speak over each
historians
other.
have argued that, like, for instance, like
Hunter, I
if
have a
you went to
question.
war in like the medieval times, right? And the only two like options that you really had, or sorry, three, is to either kill them, like the people that surrendered, is to either kill them, or the other one was to enslave them. And then the other option really is to let them go. But they've noticed that time and again, when you let people go, they either come back as bandits, or they regroup, repopulate, or join another alliance that's against you.
So there was a justification for it.
Exactly, but
so there was a justification for the slavery. That's the first problem.
No,
the second problem is that. Well, hold on, wait. One more thing, really quickly. The other problem is the verse that I read. The verse that I read specifically from Leviticus. Please, just 5 seconds here. The verse that I read from Leviticus says nothing about prisoners of war. It says that you can go to the nations around you and buy slaves from them.
Right. So let me try to explain this to you. If you go to this, you read from Leviticus 25, right?
Leviticus 25, 44 through 46.
Okay, if you go to Leviticus 25:10, the very same chapter, and you shall hallow the 50th year and proclaim liberty throughout all the land unto all the inhabitants thereof, it shall be a jubilee unto you, and ye shall return every man unto his possession, and ye shall return every man into his family.
So first,
they were wait.
This is wrong.
There were, sir. There were provisions made to free all the slaves. So your claim that like people could be enslaved perpetually, that's false. Every 50 years they will be released no matter who they are.
This is a
so
lie.
maybe they'll be enslaved, and then after like 5 or 10 years it's going to be the jubilee year and they'll be freed, right? But
doesn't it say 50th year?
Yeah, but like
No,
you don't know when the 50th year is. You might like be enslaved and then next year is the 50th year, or you might be enslaved and then it's in 49 years.
So first of all, what you're saying is that God is actually okay with slavery so long as it's not forever. So that's kind of weird. That's still. Hold on, wait, stop. I need to respond. No, I need to respond right now. First of all, that is still incredibly. I'm gonna just.
What I'm saying. That's not
okay.
what
Let's
I'm saying.
let Rami finish, and then Hunter, you go.
Yeah. Right. One last comment. I'm not saying it's okay as long as it's not perpetual. I'm saying people used to do that as a job, and they would like enslave themselves because they didn't have work, and they had to like work for somebody, and that was the way they would work. And man stealing, which is the practice of stealing someone and enslaving them, like selling them to someone, was punishable by death. And I can read you the verse.
Yes, I know what you're talking about, and that was actually
21.
Hold on.
People would work.
No. The verse where it said people should be taken or put to death was actually a condemnation of stealing. It was not a condemnation of actual slavery. Second of all, you simply bringing up the fact that, oh, actually God was only okay with temporary slavery doesn't make God look any better. Finally, you can look, I believe it's in Leviticus 25, I would have to double check, but it also goes on to explain that if that slave has been given a wife and child, the wife and child belongs to the master. So yeah, you can let the slave himself go. However, now he would have to leave his family for that. You're telling me that's God's moral, that's the arbiter of morality here?
The family would be freed. Wait, let me respond. The family would be freed every 50 years. So even the family would eventually be freed.
Okay, got it. So you're just separated for like up to 50 years, you know, I got it. Yeah, you know what? God actually is really moral. Never mind.
Stop.
There is a 100% chance that Hunter Avallone is a fucking Jew. Now listen, I just
stop over talking. No, you don't get to over talk me. You don't get to do that. Stop.
You hate Jesus.
Stop. No, dude. No. You can't scream over me. You cannot. Stop.
Rami, you're homosexual.
If you go to Exodus 21:16, it says, "And he that stealeth a man and selleth him, or if he be found in his hand, he shall surely be put to death."
Yes, stealing.
Look it up.
Stealing. It's against stealing. It's condemning stealing. It's not condemning slavery. What they're saying is slavery's okay, but if you steal another slave, then you're in trouble. The same book of Exodus also says you can fucking beat your slaves, and so long as they don't die, you won't be punished because the slave is your property.
So what?
Yo, Hunter, I have a question for you.
I'm still hoping for my question to be answered, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Your masters.
I mean, like, I would just
slaves
like
obey your masters. That's what it says in the Bible.
Why do you have a problem with any of this?
Yeah, so I'm just like looking at it from like a philosophical perspective, Hunter. Are you trying to say that God shouldn't be the arbiter of moral compasses or moral standards?
I'm asking you how you
these
justify
moral
it.
standards aren't objective. Like which one?
I'm asking you how you as Christians justify the claim that God is the arbiter of morality. If God has been okay with and permitted blatant immoral action, and this is only one thing, by the way.
One second. So one sec. Why would you say that it's blatantly immoral?
Because owning another human being, is wrong, because it hurts human beings. It makes all of society worse. And I personally wouldn't want to live in a society in which slavery is.
Owning their
Wait,
labor?
who do you think is better? Wait. This is. It's funny that you're trying to like. No, it's funny that you guys are trying to do this right now when this is again just embarrassing. You're saying that I don't get to determine what's right or wrong. Well, then how come I am able to say slavery's wrong and God isn't?
You're just presupposing
What normative view are you holding? Like, there must be some sort of normative principle that you're using.
Stop. Hello, guys. Stop trying to overtalk. Stop.
Yo, Hunter,
you here?
It's okay. People, this is the impossible question. Christians can never answer it. It's okay.
No, I answered it.
No, I'm just asking for like the normative principle that you're using. It just seems to be like the harm principle, and like as a Christian or as a theist, like why should I accept it, right? Like.
Do you want to? So wait. As a theist, why should you accept it? Don't you believe that every human is created in the image of God?
No.
I'm like personally, I do not. But like, I'm defending the Christian position right now. So even then, why should one accept the harm principle or something like that?
From the Christian perspective, because if you believe that everybody is created in the image of God, then why would you want to harm someone that was created in the image of God?
Well, no. Like the entire harm principle is like we should decrease harm in the world.
Can you please let a Christian argue with him? You're not even a Christian. Okay, let a Christian.
Rami, go ahead, because he's clearly.
So let's.
All right. I might switch sides. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, bro. I'm about to switch sides.
Just mute him.
Those people
just mute him. Mute this guy.
They cannot make decisions on their own. They've clearly expressed an inability to do so. So slavery is therefore justified. Women are inherently slave.
Rami, just mute him. Hunter, I have a question. If you have a family,
he was making an argument.
If a family is over the ages of, let's say, 20, right? Can they all have consensual sex with each other?
If children are over the age of 20?
No. If a family is over the ages of 20, can they have consensual sex with each other?
As much as I think I would love to talk about incest, I am not about to just pivot onto an entirely different subject when we're not even off the slavery one yet. So I'm not going to give you that answer. I'm not going to satisfy you with an answer there.
No, you're not going anywhere. Can a father have sex with his 20-year-old son?
I'm not going to answer this question because it's irrelevant to the conversation, and you're trying to divert.
Why not answer the question?
No, I think what's happening here is that you are. Yeah, what's happening here is that you realized you're.
Okay, stop. No.
You're stumped by the slavery question, so you're trying to just move the conversation on, and it's very transparent.
Okay, yeah, that is a pivot. That is not the topic right now. So we are gonna stick on the topic. And look, I explained to you clearly how it was a job back in those days, and people basically, had to work, and so they would. Sell themselves into slavery in order to be able to provide for themselves and their families.
Part of slavery was that, but that's not the slavery described in Leviticus or Exodus.
I literally read to you Exodus 21:16, and he that stealeth a man and selleth him, or if he be found in his hand, he shall surely be put to death. This is clearly stating that if you steal somebody and attempt to sell him, that is punished by death. So it was not okay for people to steal people and then enslave them. That was against the law, okay?
Well, I don't believe you, first of all, because that's a condemnation of stealing, It was not a condemnation of slavery. Not to mention, how is it how is it an employment option to be somebody else's property where they can beat you according to God?
It's still
Hunter,
an
you keep appealing to emotions.
in some countries.
Hold on, wait. How am I appealing to emotions? Slavery bad is now an emotional. You know what? I'm sorry. I'm a soy boy. My bad.
North American slave
Stop
trade.
over talking each other. Stop. I want you
Hunter,
to
I have a
explain
question
to
for
me
you.
how, like, you realize there are other places that are against stealing. This is not describing stealing property. There are places that describe what happens when someone steals property. This is not one of them. This is describing slavery. And how do you get stealing from this? You're
So
reading
even if I were to grant
I'm
that,
not
sure.
arguing
Even if
honesty, obviously.
even if I were to grant this completely and say, okay, fine, here's a verse where it sounds like it's condemning slavery. Now you have a problem with contradictions because now one thing is condemning slavery, yet there are countless other verses in which God is okay with slavery. So which one is it?
Can you show one where it's promoting slavery?
It doesn't need to promote slavery for it to still be permissible by God.
So it's what you're citing then is it's legislating the mechanism of slave. Sorry, Mr. Batman.
If God is giving us legislation, that includes
is that it is legislating the institution of slavery, which was very widespread and present in the ancient world and in the ancient Near East.
So how come God was okay saying no to shellfish and to mixed fabrics, but owning other human beings for property? He just had to kind of legislate that one.
Actually, sir, you don't get to own other people for property. Are you not paying attention?
Dude,
Look into the Bible and what it says about man stealing. Man stealing, sir, is a death penalty offense. Now, the type of slavery you're referring to is a foster.
So do you think it's okay then?
Wait, Batman is just a crazed old man. Just mute this guy. Let Straps talk.
According to God, is it okay to beat slaves?
Batman, we're tired of having you scream over everyone and not engage in the conversation.
Yeah.
I hope you realize that. Like, I'm telling you, you're really pushing us, dude. If you join this room, you need to engage and listen. You can't scream at everybody like
Is
that.
God okay with beating slaves?
No.
Then why does it say anyone who beats their male or female slave with a rod must be... Hold on, I'm trying to read the Bible. I'm having a Bible study here. Shh, be quiet. I'm having a Bible study, please.
You are responsible for them, but you do not own them.
Stop. Anyone who beats their male or female slave with a rod must be punished if the slave dies as a direct result. But if they are, but they are not to be punished if the slave recovers after a day or two, since the slave is their property.
So there's regulations on what you can and cannot do.
So God could say, got it. You're making God look like the weakest piece of shit ever right now. It's actually embarrassing for you and your God. If you followed a God that could say no to shellfish, but had to just legislate slavery, then you are an embarrassment. And also you're an embarrassing evangelist for this God as well. Why would anybody want to follow a God like this?
Got him.
It just means slavery
Not
was
everything in
less
the Bible is
dangerous than
true, okay? The Bible is only partially true. It has some parts that are true and some parts not.
God, I'll follow
It's a
that
lie
God.
straight from the pit of hell. The Bible is 100% true. The sum of your words
No, it's
is
not.
truth.
There were parts of it that are.
Okay, we're derailing, Mr. Batman. We're derailing. We're derailing.
I would love to talk to Mr. Batman.
Without it being completely true, you can't justify anything to be true.
Hunter, even from like a secular perspective, though, we can look at it through his like historical perspective and see that it was actually kind of necessary to have slaves. So, like that could be one justification that one could say.
Where was where was it necessary to have slaves?
Couldn't have had it any other way.
Yeah,
You
I
could
can
have,
get you many scholars' quotes on this that it was actually
could have had indentured servitude without.
Now we're talking about like
it was
we're not
necessary
talking about, like going to another. Now the slavery that we're talking about specifically is not the transatlantic slave trade where you went over to Africa and took slaves. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the slaves between two guys fighting, and then whoever's left over, like taking them as slaves. Like these people, like that type of slavery is the one that I'm.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be, but it doesn't have to be.
You can make a case for it.
But it doesn't have to be the transatlantic slave trade. If you're owning another human being as property, then that's wrong.
Okay, so what principle are we using to say that it's wrong?
It does harm, and I
the harm
myself
principle,
wouldn't want to be a slave. We know it's wrong because it's wrong for the slaves, and not to mention a God that says it's okay to beat them so long as they don't die is a problem also.
Okay, so you do realize that there are people that are moral nihilists, that they believe that moral judgments are not are all false, that none of them are true, and so they would actually disagree with you in the sense of that saying having another person as property is morally wrong. They would actually disagree with you on that. I mean, what position are you even coming from to say that
Are you
X
a
is
moral
morally
nihilist?
I'm not a moral nihilist. I'm able to recognize that
everyone would agree, and I would disagree with that. That's just not true.
So even if they were a moral nihilist, they would have to accept that a society in which slavery is the norm is a less ideal society. It makes that society more unstable, and it could potentially lead to harm even for the nihilist. Because again, we don't know where we are going to end up in this world. Being born into a society in which slavery is acceptable might be quote unquote okay or not doing harm if you're the fucking slave owner, but you don't know that. You don't know. You could also be the slave. Mm-hmm. So living in a society in which slavery is permissible is a worse society. Not to mention
That's not what we're arguing though.
I'm arguing
we're arguing the morality of it. Remember, we're not arguing that it's less ideal. That's not the proposition I have.
I'm not trying to even get into
moral judgment.
I don't want to get into this part of the conversation until I'm able to understand how God is the arbiter of morality, and then God says it's okay to have slaves and beat slaves.
What's the contradiction? Is there a contradiction, Hunter? So dude, please, Remy, please, just let me.
No. I want to clarify one thing. You can talk after. Yeah, I'm gonna clarify one thing. I've let you talk for like 10 minutes. I'm gonna make a point. Okay, King, you're. Anyways, dude, I'm not gonna say anything. Okay, if you go to Matthew 19, this is Jesus talking with the Pharisees. Okay, and the Pharisees say to him, verse 7. They say unto him, why did Moses then command to give a writing of divorcement and to put her away? And he said unto them, Moses, because of the hardness of your hearts, suffered you to put away your wives, but from the beginning it was not so. So you can see here that it's describing for the hardness of their heart, they're allowed to divorce their wives, but it wasn't like the intent. And that's exactly what we find in the Old and New Testaments. Like the New Testament fulfills this, okay?
So God was not against it, but he was okay with it and permitted it? No,
God was not okay with it. God allowed it.
What?
So God could say no to shellfish and mixed fabrics, but he allowed slavery.
God allows a lot of things like more terrible than slavery in this
world.
So
he's not okay with it. Moses pretty much pointed out you may do these things.
I agree that slavery is like a terrible thing.
Punishable to do these things.
Yeah, but to Romney's point, he also pointed out that you could divorce your wife, right? And he gave and Christ clarified for us the reasoning behind why that law was given. It was given as a mercy to the people and suffering their hardness of heart. So it seems like this guy Hunter's entire claim is like, I think slavery is mean by some unknown self-begging question-begging.
I didn't say it was mean. I did not beg a question either.
On that basis, you seem to be thinking like, oh, I'll just judge God and say this God must be mean because I don't want to live in this society in which slavery is okay.
I feel very sorry for you, Straps. You sound like you haven't been listening.
He wouldn't want to be a slave. He would think it'd be unjust to be a slave owner.
Right.
Yes, it would be a violation of human rights, and even as a theist, it would be a violation.
Again, the conversation keeps going back to by what standard is this? Are you holding this morality or this sense of human rights or this sense of goodness?
Fine.
Yeah,
this is wait. You realize that people you're arguing that from your perspective.
But you would admit then that his opinion is just it equates to some either possible subjective standard that he's defined, or at best, or maybe at worst, depending on your perspective, a appeal to emotion that he is generating within himself, or generated from his own emotion that he's appealing to.
This is not emotion to recognize that slavery is wrong, does harm, and no, stop. I'm responding. No, I'm responding. I am responding.
Please let Hunter respond, then Jack, then back to Straps, please.
This is not my own feelings in order to examine historically how slavery has played out. It has led to a worse society, an unstable society, and a society in which people are not treated with dignity and respect. We can recognize that humans have rights. We all recognize this collectively as far as Americans go. And that in and of itself is a good thing. Being able to witness that, we can then recognize that violating those human rights, forcing another human being to give you labor and treat them as property or as an object is wrong. because it does harm. If you are harming another human being, that is what I'm determining it as being wrong in this case. Now, yes, there are justifications for harm at times. However, in the case of slavery, harm is the number one biggest problem. You are causing the harm.
Right. So now you've brought 5 or 6 there different justifications behind which you think the morality of this institution should be judged and should necessarily be judged by all people externally, not just your subjective.
Well, I want the world to be better, but yet God seems to be wanting to make the world a worse place.
Great. One of those things you said was human rights, this vague element of human rights. One of them was a world you want to live in. One of them was societal stability. One of them, I forgot 2 or 3 of the other
Yes,
ones.
there's plenty of problems with slavery. I'm giving you some.
So, for example, you are citing all of these things that you're claiming. So, for example, slavery makes society less structured or less grounded or less stable, whatever. Like, I don't even know how you're justifying that claim, but let's just assume that it's justified.
Well,
like,
probably because having a bunch of people enslaved that could rise up against you would be a problem.
Somehow that becomes a moral standard.
Let him finish. Let Straps finish.
Somehow that becomes a moral standard by which you think this institution is wrong and by which the deity, the creator of the world, should be judged on the basis of. That's also ungrounded. Like, so we can pick a topic here. Like, we can just objectively talk about slavery and like what slavery actually was, because it was not chattel slavery that was brought up, what it looked like in the ancient Near East. And you could say, did this have some kind of legitimate moral basis? Or we can talk about the ground, since what you're ultimately doing is making a moral assault on God. We could talk about, well, by what standard and by what grounding do you have the ability to measure good apart from this God? Like, what is the standard that you're applying? So these are different conversations, but both of them are in view here. If you'd like to pick one, I think we
sure. I think that it's pretty simple, actually.
Really quick, I have a question. Do you Christians?
No, we're in the middle of
No. Let me just ask this quick question because I just want to clarify. So, do the Christians, you guys grant that slavery is promoted in the Bible or it's allowed in the Bible? You guys agree that
slavery is managed.
Okay, now you're just arguing the morality of the slavery.
So for me, since morality,
so you guys think slavery is good, pretty much.
Since
Hunter, go ahead.
Since my belief in morality,
the Bible exuberantly endorses chattel slavery.
It doesn't need to.
That's a totally different claim.
That's completely, literally not the original.
So we're jumping all over the place. We have to narrow this down, right? Hunter, I think you explained, let me try to steelman this, because I think you explained a little earlier that you know that slavery is wrong because you know that you wouldn't want to be owned as a slave, correct?
Partially, sure.
Partially?
That's not the only reason, but yes, that's one of them.
Okay. So under this standard, right, would it be permissible to own a slave if that slave also thought it was permissible for him to be owned as a slave?
No, because you're still ultimately doing harm, and I don't believe that it's acceptable to treat people as objects or to own people as property. The thing is for me, well, hold on really quickly.
So,
the thing for me, no. I've been asked multiple questions. I'd like to give a little bit of a breakdown here. Yeah. So for me, my standard of morality is grounded on wanting to maximize human well-being and that pain or pleasure is preferable to pain, health is preferable to sickness, life is preferable to death. These simple premises, which I'm almost positive we could all arguably agree with, is what I like to build my morality on. So if my goal is to maximize human well-being, but yet God is in favor of something that is a detriment to human well-being, then I would view that thing as immoral. However, I'm not trying to get into a conversation as to why my morality is somehow superior. I am asking the question to the Christians. If you are saying this God is the arbiter of morality, how can he be okay with something that is immoral? That is the question I've been asking. And I feel like you guys keep trying to redirect like, well, you think everything's subjective. You think,
dude, you just contradicted yourself. Hold on.
Wait, how did I contradict myself?
You're saying if God is the standard of morality, how can he say something is moral that is immoral? Like you're saying, you're granting in one hand that he is the genesis of morality. In the other hand, you're using some external standard of morality to judge his actions.
Oh my God, no, I'm saying according to you. I'm saying according to you. So I guess according to you, since God is the arbiter of morality, him saying slavery is okay means slavery is moral in some circumstances?
Can you find a situation in which, in a way you could say that. However, more explicitly, can you find a situation where God positively proclaims that slavery or this man ownership, the chattel slavery that you're describing, is expected and recommended to do? Or does
he doesn't need to recommend it.
Or does he just legislate the fair treatment of these slaves in an institution that exists in a sinful world.
Yeah,
Regardless,
like
God didn't do enough to say that slavery is wrong.
Didn't do enough is a subjective moral claim.
Hold
that
on,
you're making
stop.
again,
Shut the fuck up with the subjective thing, okay?
Well, I mean,
so you have to understand that I did not say that God is the arbiter of morality. I'm asking
people to shut the F up, okay?
Okay, sorry. I'm asking.
Didn't do enough is a subjective moral claim. There's nothing wrong with that statement.
Okay,
I guess
sure.
you got you good and now you're triggered, but don't insult people, okay?
I'm asking if you believe that God is the arbiter of morality, and there seems to be something that is immoral, what is the justification for the claim that God is the arbiter of morality? That, I guess, is a better way that I could phrase that question.
That's an entirely
You're
different question.
Yourself. Because if God is the author of morality, therefore he whatever he allows for is moral under his precepts. Like, you're supposed to treat somebody as you would want to be treated. And there's also the system of judges that were, the prophets that were supposed to basically keep everyone accountable and righteous. And if someone was beating their slaves and mistreating them for no reason, they could go to the prophet and complain to him and be like, hey, this guy is abusing us, and they were there to rectify the situation.
This is divine command theory. This is divine command theory.
I know I haven't lurked for that long, but I just like to point out one thing. In the Old Testament, it says that you could only keep a slave for up to 7 years. So,
yes, that's what it says. Unless you trick them into giving them a family, then they would either have to stay with their family or leave and abandon their wife and children.
There's loopholes to having lifelong slaves that even your children can inherit.
No, but every 50 years they all have to be released.
No, I believe there are loopholes there, but even if that were true, temporary slavery.
Slaves you can have
fucking Jewish.
Temporary slavery is still a bad thing, guys.
Oh, ISP.
Temporary slavery is still pretty bad. It doesn't have to be for life,
look,
even.
I mean, so the Old Testament assumes that slavery is part of the human condition, and God manages and provides commandments and morality to manage the treatment of slaves.
Eating.
Some of those things are about the management of when those people should be released. Some of them is about the fair treatment of them. What you're categorizing here of if you beat your slave and he does not die, and if he dies, then blood be upon you. That's not saying literally the opposite that you're proclaiming that it says, which is
I never said
that he can beat a slave until as long as he doesn't die. It is saying that you should not inflict so much damage upon this thing that he dies. It's managing the institution at a time when all other
managing it in a way that said it was okay to beat them. At a time
when all other societies around them are cruelly treating slaves, you see this substantively different, fair treatment of slaves.
So God was just a little better.
Different.
So God was just a little better than the societies.
He's again
literally
managing
the society's
an institution that is viewed as part of the human condition.
And there was a societal norm or institution, quote unquote, of wearing mixed fabrics and eating shellfish, but God had no problem saying no. He had no problem saying that. But then when we're talking about the institution of slavery, suddenly God, you just got to kind of warm us up for it, the big arbiter of morality.
So
hold on. You can beat them, okay? Just make sure they don't die. They're just your property.
Your claim now is that Hunter thinks God should have been more explicit with a prohibition of slavery. That's awesome, dude. If that's your argument,
yes, I have my subjective belief that God should have done that. Yes,
and on the basis, if we look at the ability to proclaim judgment between the God that created the universe and spoke all things into existence, or
allegedly
a dude on Discord named Hunter, I'm going to go with God having a morally sufficient cause to do whatever he did versus you, some retard on the internet, making a judgment claim.
Yeah, so here we go again with it. Well, hold on, wait. Here we go again with the fucking
judgment claim any less valid than God's judgment claim?
Categorically, it would be absolutely less valid than God's judgment claim.
Well, this is my problem with these dipshits here. Straps, you're the problem.
For his worldview.
You are the problem. You're the literal stereotype that I have an issue with of Christians. I don't even have a good explanation, but I'm just going to blindly believe God because God. This is divine command theory, which is
rejecting them all.
No, this is because God did it, therefore it's moral.
Congratulations, dude. You heard a phrase, divine command theory, and now you're explicating some people's opinion as divine command theory. Even if it's
the definition of it. You're coping again.
Stop categorizing something because I want to fuck
Jesus. I just need a quick clarifying question, please.
Yeah. Can I just wrap up the convo I was having with Straps here? Because he's
real quick. It's just a clarifying question. Straps, do you think slavery in and of itself is morally neutral, bad, or good?
I think societally, there is likely a time and a place for slavery in history. I don't see the purpose or the need or any value in its current state today. For example, what was already given as a sufficient reason was when in warfare in historical times, when you have this thing where you're, taking over another one or you're at war with another country, and now you have these women, children, other people, young boys, whatever. What are your options here to do with them? You can set them free. You can allow them to remain on their own. Set them free, with no knowledge, no ability to provide for themselves, to defend for themselves, etc. That could be viewed in many ways as being unmerciful or rude. You could kill them outright. Well, that seems much worse, also morally, from some random justification that a guy like Hunter is making. You could provide for them, giving them work, food, shelter, skills, etc., and then a path to eventual release, which is, oh my goodness, that's exactly what the Israelites were doing.
Except that there were loopholes, except that they would have to be separated from their house. The fact that wait, can we just holy shit, he just rambles and I haven't even gotten a chance to respond yet.
I'm going on.
And this is the dude that said I was retarded.
He talked a lot less than you. Let him finish.
So Jack, I can stop there. I mean, the only other thing I was going to bring up is like another benefit or positive opportunity for slavery is not even slavery, because in Hebrew the word slave is the same for servant or slave, but indentured servitude, where I owe you money and I have the inability to pay it back, and I'm selling myself to you as a way to bear my debt. That was also employed throughout history. Seems like a valid use case to where I'm willingly signing into this contract.
Okay,
sure,
so
and I can recognize that, but
morally neutral. It just depends on context.
There's a time and a place for slavery.
Dude, I'm sorry. Me and Jack asked the question. I was answering him. Then he responded. Hold tight just a second. Jack, I would say I think chattel slavery, which is what we almost all Westerners think of in their head. This that is the 18th century, 19th century slavery in America. People, this idea that they are your property and ownership, you can do whatever you want with them, treat them poorly. That I'd say is always morally wrong on God's standard.
Okay, can I just cut in here real quick? Because I'm actually going to be wrapping up my stream anyway soon. But just really quickly, the reason I continuously am bringing up divine command theory is because what you're doing right now is you're saying that you don't quite understand or whatnot. However, because God said it, you're going to trust that because you believe God is ultimate and infinite, that he has his moral reasons for being okay with slavery here in this context. The problem with that, and the reason I point out that it's divine command theory, which is if God does it or says it, therefore it's moral, is because for all this blabber you've been giving about subjectivity, you are following a subjective moral framework. You arguably have no morals, because now slavery isn't even off the table if God is okay with it. Murder isn't necessarily off the table if God is okay with it. You actually have no moral foundation. Your morals are flimsy as fuck, and they change dependent on what you can feel like God actually said or what you can interpret from the Bible. You have built your house on the sand, my friend.
Interesting story. Totally inappropriate from anything I ever said.
No, not at all.
Dude, everything you said there was totally wrong. Nobody here is made a claim that our morals from God are dependent on how we feel what God said. That would be an abomination of what we said. Nobody here said you're calling God's view, which is categorically different than humans, an objective standard that God provides for humanity.
Allegedly, you haven't even substantiated that claim.
That it is God. So yeah, you can say.
So you're assuming there's a God,
subjective unto himself. Maybe you could argue that.
So you're assuming that there's a God and that everything that God says is moral.
Down if you're just going to constantly talk. I sat there.
Well, don't worry. I'm going to leave in a second because I can't take much more of the brain rot. But it's okay.
Then leave, dude. If you can't defend yourself, leave.
I have been defending myself for the last hour and a half. It's just that when you start talking, you start rambling.
All right, dude.
So I've already pointed out that based on your worldview,
you have to be trolling at this point.
All right, dude. Yeah, you're turned down now. So I can't hear you.
Guys, are you kidding me? How am I? Wait.
How am I making these claims here?
All right, I'm gonna leave. Then I'm just gonna say really quickly: the guy that called me the retard is the one who said there's a time and a place for slavery. This is really quite sad. Wow. Oof, man. Yeah, guys. Apparently, I'm just a troll because I pointed out the countless contradictions in their bullshit. This is the problem, by the way, with the divine command theory thing, right? Is that they genuinely have no morality. And no, I left the call. They'll say that I ran away or whatnot, but it doesn't matter. It is actually infuriating that chucklefuck subhuman scum bitch would actually call me retarded and then go on to say that there is a time and a place for slavery. No, there isn't. This is the problem with Christianity. You, my friends, watching on stream, have witnessed it. That's the problem, is that if God is okay with it, well, maybe there is a time and a place, which is the exact argument that the fucking slave owners with chattel slaves would posit. That was their argument. The same one that Christians nowadays posit. It's actually hysterical how fucking disgusting these people are. And then, even worse, they go on to say that I must be a troll. Yeah, you know, they got a good point, guys. Only the troll would actually think that slavery is bad. Good point. Good point, you know? Yeah. I'm trolling so bad right now.